Hi,
Welcome.
everyone.
My name is Deborah Wang, Artistic Director of DesignTO, and with me is Matt Carr, VP of Design at Umbra. DesignTO is a nonprofit arts organization that's best known for its annual design festival happening distanced and digitally from January 22nd to 31st. With pandemic regulations constantly changing, you may have questions about the festival. There are 40 exhibitions and events, like this one, to experience online. For those of you who want to head out for a daily dose of fresh air, there are 35 window installations across the city which are viewable from outdoors. And there are more projects you can browse online that have been postponed. Please keep physically distanced from others at all times. DesignTO would like to acknowledge that the land we are on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. It is now home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. As well, DesignTO would like to draw attention to the land defenders of 1492 Land Back Lane, a Six Nations group who are defending their treaty rights to land in Caledonia. You can donate to their GoFundMe campaign for legal funds, which has already raised 80% of their $500,000 goal. You can find the URL in the chat. So now on to work life. This is the 6th year of the prototype exhibition organized by DesignTO in partnership with Umbra. But this year work life has a whole new meaning. In a world where home sizes were already dwindling and our ideas of working and living have been constantly redefined, the boundaries between work and life were drastically altered by the pandemic. There are some new questions to consider. How has the stay-at-home order changed your life, creating a new context for everyday living? How has being at home 24/7 changed the way we use objects and spaces? Can life hacks become viable products? This year really accelerated the conversation and the need for these things. So we selected 8 designers from an open call for submissions, and they're here with us online to talk to VP of Design at Umbra, Matt Carr, about what the last year has been like for them. You can also learn more about the designers and their prototypes online, both on our website as well as Umbra's, and also on a recent article by CBC Arts. So search for Work Life for a great article by Leah Collins. And if you have questions during this talk, please use the live chat and we'll have a Q&A at the end of the conversation. Also, Matt will be announcing the winner of the Best Product Award that we juried with Karen Kang, Managing Director and Head of Content at IDS, and Shane Laptiste, Architect and Principal of Studio of Contemporary Architecture and Laptiste Architecture, Inc. So now I'll hand it over to you, Matt.
Thanks, Deborah. Hi, everybody. And we're very excited to do a different type of platform this year. Obviously, in past years, we've had great exhibitions and great events with everybody surrounded here. But different times, it allows us to pivot and really actually showcase the work to maybe even more people this year. So we're extremely excited to collaborate with the 8 designers from across Canada, from varying disciplines, from architecture to product design. And we're very grateful to have a super partner like DesignTO. As Deborah mentioned, this is our 6th year. Started off doing small space living, and then 3 years ago we adapted to work life. And Deborah did mention accelerating, and acceleration is definitely the topic of working from home. So the premise behind this collaboration has really been about letting the designers have their own platform, but using Umbra as a bit of a voice, as a bit of a sounding board. There is back and forth between the designers and our design studio at Umbra to give some feedback, but really allow them to voice what they think is relevant for work life, and how they are all personally working from home in their own environments in 2020 and 21. So without ado, we should get to some of the sneak peek of the videos. Then we'll do a more in-depth walkthrough with the designers as we tour the Umbra store here in downtown Toronto on John Street. So here we have the two bookends from Maha Alavi. The HQ table from Noda Designs. The peacock chair from Plural Studio. The shuttle from Jeremy Labelle. Okay, Carmen. All right, so we're going to do the back half of the submissions later on in the show, but let's do a walkthrough of some of these ones that we just saw. Okay, so let's walk through, and we're going to do a little bit of a tubing. So we're going to go in the okay, we'll go for Plural first. All right, so with the peacock chair, we have Carmen from DesignTO as well helping us out here with the video. So the gentleman at Plural Studio, why don't you just tell us a little bit about the chair and your premise behind the design?
Yeah, sure. So the peacock chair is this flexible piece of furniture that allows users to adapt to a different context within the same space. And it was built in response to this worldwide adoption of working from home. So the main problems I guess we're trying to solve with this is privacy, distractions, noise, and just the overall ability to maintain a work-life balance. And yeah, the main defining feature is this shroud that can fold up. It gives you this privacy, and it can also fold down for more casual times. It's also made out of felt, and all these different pleats create a bunch of surface area to absorb noise. So yeah.
Great. It's a very well made model. I mean, how did you guys do the fabrication?
Yeah, so that was actually quite challenging for us these days because most of the collaborative workshops were closed during COVID. So we had to do most of these parts in our apartments. Actually, we set up a workshop in our apartment, molded the plywood all in there. That was definitely a really good learning curve for us, that we have to really prepare and organize us really well to get these things sorted out. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Super. Great. Okay, so we'll do a quick spin around, and then I'm sure there's gonna be some questions as well from the audience with regards to the chair. So let's keep moving. Next we have Superwise and the mushroom.
Hi there.
Hi.
Yes, the mushroom is a temporary shelf we developed for home offices to add extra space. And it's made from repurposed plastic, which is HDPE, which gives a marble texture and abstract pattern on every piece, which is different. And the goal was to clamp the shelf on basically any furniture you have in your home, so you could install your workspace anywhere and add extra space.
Amazing. So you actually fabricated these yourself then?
Yes, it was with a partner, which is Connects Innovation, which is new and developing this material, but is super interesting in mass production and developing more objects of this kind.
Yeah, it looks very incredible. Each one has its really unique form, right? So well done on that. Okay, next up we have Notoro. So we have from Kenny. Kenny, do you want to talk a little bit about the light?
Sure. This is a low lamp and it was designed through the pandemic as an accent light within a room for people who are working from home, just to add a little bit of a lighter mood in your environment. It takes a lot of inspiration from traditional Zen gardens. So if you look at the base, there's like an emulation of those ripples in the traditional rock garden there.
Yeah, nice attention to detail. What kind of wood did you use?
Maple wood.
Great. So where do you see this product being placed in your own home?
Actually, I have it right on by the TV. This is the original prototype there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I could see it anywhere from being in, living space to bedroom. I'll have two now after this, so my girlfriend might want to put it in a bedroom.
Right on. Well, it looks
Yeah.
great.
Thank you.
Really nice manufacturing.
Thank you. I CNC'd it myself.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. And then next product we have is the Obscura screen from Ava.
Hello.
Hi, Ava. How are you?
Good.
All the way from California.
Yep.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about the Obscura?
So the screen was really just my response to wanting some privacy in my own home. I've been working from home along with my husband and my dog, and just really needed something to signal that, hey, I'm working. Stop distracting me. It has a mirror on one side and a magnetic board on the other side, which was really a desire to have a space to pin things up. It's one of the things I miss the most about studio life, is being able to pin stuff up. So the magnetic board is kind of fulfilling that.
Great. Yeah, no, it is really beautiful. And then, so it's freestanding, and can you actually reverse these?
So you can rotate it. It's pretty flexible. You can rotate it either way, but you can also hang it up on the wall. So those brackets have holes and allow you to hang it up on the wall if it needs to be stored away, or you just want to use it as a mirror.
Great. I mean, what was the greatest challenge in manufacturing this?
Finding someone to build it was a pretty big challenge. I'm located in San Francisco, needed the screens to get to Toronto. And in the end, I actually had a friend make it for me in Bangladesh and ship it over.
Wow.
So there was a lot of digital discussions and photos being sent back and forth.
Amazing. So what was the total lead time then from your first discussion with your partner in Bangladesh to now?
It was about 3 months. The shipping was the longest part, but yeah.
Very nice. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, Brandon, you want to speak a little bit about the chair for the Little Prince, and maybe a little bit of background about that name as well?
Yeah, definitely. So, as you just said, this chair was inspired from an idea from the novel The Little Prince. After recently reading it, I guess the idea that I took most from it was that everybody has their sort of own interpretation to things in life. And with this chair, what I wanted to do was basically give the user the kind of initiative to take and design or occupy the chair how they would please, and not necessarily prescribe the purpose of the chair as the designer to the user itself. So in light of that, I named the chair after him.
So I think you mentioned that there was like 9 different configurations for the chair.
Yep. So each of those sort of horizontal shelves can act as a place for someone to sit. You can sit 2 people too if you wanted to. You can orient it basically however you'd like to. Yeah.
Great. Very interesting. And I like your photography too in the grass setting that you showed.
Thanks.
Okay, and then Maha, let's talk about your bookends, the 2 bookends.
Well, tube, I was thinking of what is kind of the minimum requirement needed to make a space feel productive. And I really kind of wanted to move away from the traditional bulky apparatus office situation where you have the desktop, the keyboard, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought, how can I help people get into that headspace of productivity and creativity by just using something really simple to house everyday tools of productivity, books, pens, whatever you need.
Very nice. And they are substantial. So what was it tough to get these fabricated as well?
Yeah, it was a bit of a challenge for sure. I mean, I had a kind of different design originally, and then when I went over to the manufacturer, they were like, we can't really do this. So I had to go back to the drawing board, take their feedback into consideration, and then kind of redesign the whole look of it. But I stayed true to the concept that I wanted to put forth, and I think they turned out pretty well. Proud of myself.
It's good for you. And what was the original material that you had in mind?
I was thinking tube, stainless steel tube for sure, but
Okay.
the bends I had going initially were way too tight. So if I wanted to stay with the tube, I would really have to change the radius of those tight bends.
Right. I guess that's something we all wait out as a designer is manufacturing constraints and what we can sacrifice for the design and what really matters at the end. So they still look very stable even with the increased radius, right?
And they're definitely they have the appropriate weight for bookends, and I think that helps ground the design a bit more.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, and Noda Design. And Nora, do you want to talk a little bit about the HQ table?
Hi, thank you. So this was based on actually taking a poll from just, clients and friends of ours, asking them what has changed during the pandemic while working from home. And a lot of them kept telling me, I don't want to look at my partner while working from home because it's very distracting. So we figured, let's make something that's multifunctional in a way you can use it as your office desk, a conference table, or even a dining table. So that's how it came about. And we also wanted it to be really easy to be assembled. So we came out with the interlocking system where you don't need any screws. So basically it's like putting together Lego, and it comes in a flat pack. So everything sort of just, you take it apart and it comes in a flat pack, and you can ship it anywhere around the world. And we use Baltic birch plywood. Reason being that it's quite dense, and you don't have to worry about the edges when you cut. Because the beauty of this wood is that you can cut it either way, and it's fine. It's not like an MDF where you have to finish the edging. So a lot of consideration went into using the type of material that we wanted to use. One thing, though, I have to say that did not work for us in this prototype was the magnetic paint. We wanted to have a magnetic feature on the divider screen. However, when we did the layered magnetic paint and the paint on top, it did not work. But the magnetic paint worked before the other paint went on it. So that was a good learning curve for us as well. Can't mix materials. But other than that, we're quite happy because you've got storage for pens in the little storage area there, and there's also a hole where you can put all your pesky cords with your computers. Technically, you have two people with a divider screen, but you can also have two more on each end. So it works in a household where you have husband and wife and children, but obviously you might need your headphones on, distracting each other.
And then talk a little bit about the color or the ombre finish and how that integrates into your studio ethos.
We actually have a few different colorways in this edition. We have a hot pink, a sort of like a neon yellow, and this teal, and also just plain. We wanted to give options to consumers or the audience, just because in my studio I love colors. So we use a lot of different colors, bold colors. But for the prototype, to be safe, I didn't want to go all the way with a neon color. because I think this color sort of appeals to more broader audience and homes and interiors.
Great.
Thank you.
Great workmanship. Okay. And then finally we have Jeremy. So Jeremy, you've done something called the shuttle, which is very geared to obviously working in and around the house and being mobile. So we have it set up in one configuration, but can you tell us a little bit about the other options?
Yeah, so it can be folded into a tabletop position. So that can be used either on the tabletop as a standing desk. It basically raises the height to a standing desk position. Or you can use it to be seated on a couch, on the floor, anywhere else. You can put it on a coffee table and it raises up a bit higher. So the idea behind it is that you can basically work anywhere out throughout the house. So it's a storage solution as well as a work solution. So the idea was kind of driven by many of my coworkers who were kind of thrust into a situation where they need to work from home and they don't necessarily have a workspace. I recall hearing stories of people having to set up ironing boards and makeshift desks, things like that. So the other feature with this is that you can basically stow away all your work essentials at the end of the day, pack them away so they're out of sight, out of mind, so that can kind of maintain your what you're typically used to in a commuting sense, where you travel into the office and come home. You don't have your work with you. So by closing everything away, that kind of creates the same effect where your work is hidden away for the rest of the day.
Yeah, no, it definitely seems like a commercially viable object for sure. I mean, did you do a lot of personal testing with this as well? It seems like
I did, yeah. So it took a bit of learning. I don't typically use soft materials, so the soft good design was something that was new to me. And then the sort of origami configurations went through several iterations before I found something that worked. But I was actually surprised at how strong it could be. So in some testing, I just loaded it up with vices and heavy objects in my garage, and despite having hardboard as the structure, it held up. So
great. Okay, super. So we're gonna sit back down. Carmen was working very hard behind the camera there, so hopefully everybody got a little bit more intel on the products. And I think the other videos are ready for viewing as well. So Robin, if you're good for that. So showing the material here on the Superwise, the much room. And then Ava's beautiful Obscura screen. Brandon's chair for the Little Prince. And the low lamp from Notoro. Great. All right. I think we're getting the designers back on here. That's great. I mean, obviously this year's a kind of a different event, but I think we got a little bit more intel from the actual designers with regards to their product. In past years, it was good to be circulating around. I think designers got to speak to people who kind of wiggled their way through the crowd to get to them. I know Plural, you were involved in last year's collaboration as well, so it's good to have you back, and the rest are all newbies. So, but this year it's nice to see a different range as well from architectural backgrounds and industrial design as well. So we'll get into a few questions, and just as a reminder as well, for anybody in the audience you can insert your questions on the chat line there, and we'll get to those questions in the last section of today's event. So we're going to go through a few questions, and Jeremy, maybe we'll start with you. So, how has COVID impacted your studio? And then, with regards to workflow, how is business overall for you?
Well, business is it's good, I guess. I have been doing some work, but my day job is with the government, actually. So I guess the benefit has been, the impact has been beneficial because I've been working from home since. So essentially, I have more time to do work because I have less commute time and things like that. So I've always done my design work from home. But now, since I'm working from home, I just have more time to actually get in the shop and do my work. So it's been beneficial in that regard. But in terms of getting materials and things like that, that's been a challenge. So.
Mm-hmm. Do you think working from home has actually sculpted your submission this year?
Sorry, can you say? I didn't hear the.
Do you think having the mandate to work from home, do you think that has helped sculpt what you created today?
Oh yes, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, it's this is something that I never really would have considered an issue, or the problem really was generated by the fact that people were now having to be working from home, without having that set up. So I'm lucky because I already had an office space dedicated. So the transition for me was very, it was easy. But in talking with my colleagues and particularly people that don't have that set up at home, that's where I realized there was a definite need for this. And people that don't have an office set up, even just working on your dinner table. So despite my having an office here, I would also like to move around through the house throughout the day, so I'm not in the same spot. So I found myself setting up at the coffee table, the dinner table, various locations. But what would happen is all my work stuff would be sort of strewn about. And then when I'm done, now I have to clean it all up, put it back. And that routine kind of got a little bit old. So I was like, well, there's something to kind of contain all this. And then you can just close it up at the end of the day, and then out of sight, out of mind until the next day.
Great. And I mean, did you get any feedback from any colleagues, or like how did you kind of like get some critiques as your project was moving forward?
Yeah, so I did have an opportunity to have some testing done. I used it myself, but I would have liked to have had more in that case. But again, just the contact was limited. So yeah, that's something that I think would have been beneficial, is to have more user testing for sure. I think that, particularly with different body shapes and body sizes, I think there's some sort of sizing and ergonomics that could have been worked out a little bit better. So yeah, it's I would have liked to have had more, but I was able to actually use it successfully myself. So.
Mm-hmm. Great, thanks, Jeremy. And Maha, what are you working on right now, and how's your workflow changed?
Oh my gosh, it's been hard for sure. It's been hard getting into that headspace required to be creative, where you can really tap into that creative thinking, those patterns that you're used to. And especially for me, because I personally get a lot of inspiration from talking to people and meeting people, doing things, drinking coffee, like just living life, traveling, and it's been really difficult stopping all that.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to definitely like recenter and kind of like rejig that whole experience in my head as well. I've been trying to stay creative though, and like definitely focusing on output more than quality, kind of in a way. Just to keep that thing going.
Are you working on projects outside of product design as well?
I've been kind of focusing on interior design a little bit. Yeah. I mean, definitely product design for sure, but I'm looking now kind of more at systems, sort of like environmental design in a way, like objects and the relationship between people and other objects and that interaction. That's been kind of my project since March 2020.
Okay, great. And so for Ava, I mean, what do you think the big opportunities for? I mean, you can use your own discipline as well in architecture or product design. What do you think the big opportunities are post-COVID?
I mean, let's face it, COVID's changed everything about how we work and how we live. I think the future of work is much more flexible for designers, myself included. And I think, you know, architects and designers have been spending a lot of time trying to make the workplace a desirable place to be. But now that energy is kind of shifting towards the domestic space and how we can make our homes more flexible. So, you know, for me, being remote has allowed me to gain a lot more experience and work with a lot of different people globally. And I think, and I hope that continues post-COVID as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's definitely challenges to inspiration and meeting people, but at the same time, I don't think there's a better time to get exposure to things that you couldn't get exposure to before for maybe it was cost reasons or geographical reasons. I mean, all these things are quite open to everybody right now. So if you want to learn and if you want to grow your knowledge base, it's definitely more accessible than it was a year ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Superwise, how about in Montreal? Anything specific?
Well, on what's been keeping us busy, you mean?
Yeah, well, just with regards to future opportunities for your own studio.
Sure. I mean, well, with the project that we did, the Red Room, for us, we kind of met new people that I think would have been harder to meet in another situation that's not COVID. So as Xavier mentioned before, like we worked with a person that was really interested in recycling plastic. And I think in another situation, he would have tried working with probably bigger companies and for bigger productions and stuff like that. And but so with the situation right now, I think it gave us a chance to have like a one-on-one conversation with him with what we wanted to do, and we kind of like sparked interest in his specialty. So now we're just happy because we're going to be developing more projects with him and this type of materials. So.
That's great. Yeah, I can see that totally have some interior applications as well. Right? And I mean, what kind of projects are you focused on in your studio right now?
Well, as Cindy said, we're really aiming to develop new products, new sustainable products with suppliers around us that have hybrid products that are repurposing materials like felt, as we said, plastic and other kind of stuff that cannot be recycled or always put in the landfills. So we're really aiming to develop, and I think there's an opportunity for this after COVID. Users are now more open-minded for those kind of products, and I think it's we're aiming in that direction too.
Yeah, great. Thank you both. So for Noda Design, I mean, what was your process with regards to getting this project complete? Maybe even not specific to this project, but just your workflow in the last 10 to 12 months. Has your design process changed at all?
Yes, it has in a lot of ways. So what we do at our studio is we do interior design, but we also do product design as well. And prior to COVID, I was doing a lot of traveling because I had to find all the suppliers everywhere in the world. And since COVID hit, it really took a toll on our product development side with regards to shipping. Like everybody here on the platform, all the designers are having issues with getting the products, getting materials. So that was really difficult for me. However, at the same time during the pandemic, I was due to open my showroom which we were delayed for another 6 months after that due to lockdowns and everything. So we've been super busy because we've got calls for interior projects. Everybody wanted to change their home during COVID. And then, just trying to not fall back on my scheduling with launching my products. So that had been really challenging, and just keeping everything on all fronts going at the same time while you're restricted in a million different things. So that had been really challenging, but I think that our team are really we just kind of get on with it and just deal with it as the problem comes up or issues coming up, and just having to be really smart with digital, right? Just working with different suppliers on Zoom and just getting everyone involved digitally, I think was the biggest change for us. Although we did do a lot of projects overseas, so a lot of that, sometimes when we can't travel, we do use digital format and technology to communicate. So that's sort of how it's been going on for us. And yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we can, being in the homewares industry, whether it's interior or architecture or product, I think we can all be grateful that demand has actually increased quite a bit. Obviously, as people are at home staring at empty walls or trying to figure out how to organize things, or sanitizing their hands with soap pumps. We can hardly keep in stock of some of our automatic soap pumps. So it's we are lucky to be in a category like we are in homewares for sure. And with regards to tech as well, the influence of social media and e-com has just completely accelerated over brick and mortar shops. So when you are all thinking about your product design, we do have to really be conscientious of how that product does look on your mobile device, on a 2-inch by 2-inch square, how we communicate to our customers through our marketing. At Umbra, we've ramped up our rendering and our video team to make sure that we are not only keeping up but getting ahead of what the market is doing with regards to pushing the go-to-market strategy for all the product. Just important to know when you're thinking about your product, how to well-round it with your marketing strategy. So Brandon, how about you? What are you working on right
now? Not too much, to be honest. Designing things like the chair. The chair itself actually was it was a prompt that I was given at school. I just graduated over the summer. So that's where the chair itself sort of came to be from. But right now, kind of just taking things in. I think as a designer, and I think everyone here can maybe speak to this themselves, but being at home a lot more these days, I've been able to kind of just absorb more, trying to understand how people, at least for myself, how people would like to live, and kind of critiquing the ways that I have been living, ways that I can improve the space around myself, and yeah, just improving myself as a whole too.
Well, maybe you can enlighten the audience as being one of the most recent grads. How was it for your class, and how's the job outlook for grads of 2020 and 21?
I was able to secure a job pretty quickly from a previous employer. Kind of a boomerang situation. The sort of Zoom university kind of thing, it's a bit more interesting, I'd say, especially for architecture school. Usually things are a bit more hands-on. You get to have these conversations either with your classmates or your professors, but those sort of encounters with your classmates late at night, just before the deadline, those are kind of out of the window. But I think I've been able to focus more, put my head down, and kind of just do my own work, which obviously has its own benefits, but there's definitely like that sort of presence that being around other people, other creative people, just you can't get through, the internet.
So more all-nighters or less all-nighters of work in schooling?
I would say less all-nighters. Yeah, I wouldn't say my effort was either as high as it could have been, but I was pretty pleased with the way that things turned out.
Okay, great. Okay, and then just last question for Plural and Notoro. Let's start with Plural, and let's talk about your favorite detail on your prototype.
Our favorite detail is probably that felt shroud. Yeah, we just really love the movement of it and how it transforms from going down and flipping upwards. During our first smaller scale models, we were making them out of paper, and we were really happy with the movement and how it all worked out. And we were kind of doubting whether or not this would actually scale up into a full-size one with a different material. But to our surprise, it worked, and we were able to dial in the right rigidness in a felt shroud for it to function as we wanted to.
Yeah. Did you explore different materials or different ways of getting it from let's call it like dormant to live?
Yeah, we had a couple of different concepts. Explored some materials. We felt that felt was the best because it also had acoustic properties. It kind of brought everything together. It comes in a sheet, which is also very good for manufacturing and cost. So, yeah.
All right, great. And Notoro.
Yeah, for me, it would probably be the lamp base, as I mentioned earlier, just because not only is the pattern kind of unique in emulating that inspiration of peace and calmness, but I think it helps draw that lamp cord together with like one cohesive product. So that's probably my favorite part of the design. And another part that I like about it is that because it is a big mass, I didn't want to fillet it. I wanted to keep that harsh lock, but also elevate it off the ground. So I did that just about with a 1/4 inch, but then having the detail on top kind of softens that block.
Yeah, I mean, for sure there is a shadow. I'm looking at it right now, and I think there is a relief on many products, but the fact that it's a lighting product and it creates that relief is a little bit more dramatic. So,
yeah.
So I think we do have a couple questions, but first I'd like to get down to the judging and hearing a little bit from two of our judges, Karen and Shane. They're not with us at this moment, but they've texted me their comments. Okay, perfect. And okay, so here we go. So I'm reading two screens at the same time here, so bear with me. So from Karen, well, you know what? Let's before we get into Karen's quote, I think we should talk about who we all decided who was the winner. So I don't know if there is a virtual drum roll that we can do or anything, but I'm gonna kind of cut straight to the point here. So the winner of the 2021 Umbra DesignTO collaboration is the Mushroom.
Wow.
From Superwise. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, it was a really enjoyable experience to review all these things, and there was a lot of different topics of conversation. One from Karen, I really like the Mushroom. I think material explorations are really important for the future of design. We need to think more about the circularity of materials. It is also multi-purpose, which is important in this time, especially if you live in a city like Toronto, or Montreal, where you definitely need more space. Okay, and then the next quote is from Shane. I think the products presented were strong in addressing work-life culture. Some designers looked at the individual object in the small space, while others expanded to a wide range of uses. And I think that's something that we often look at in the Umbra assortment as well. Is yes, a product must function well in one space, but it becomes even better if it can live in multi areas of the home, and even better if it can be almost an object that can flow with you for years, decades, generations if you're moving along, and it can still kind of transport and still be relevant into the next stage of your life. So congrats, Superwise.
Thank you.
Overall, great assortment of products from everybody, all the 8 collaborators, and excited to be a part of it. So I think there were a couple questions, but I don't see them in the chat box here. Oh, here we go. Perfect. Okay, so this is a question for Superwise from Louis-Philippe Lorrain. Thanks for your question. What was the inspiration for the curved and soft shape in the mushroom? It is something that I've never seen before.
Well, maybe I can answer that. Well, so when we started thinking about the project itself to respond the call to the Umbra Work Life exhibition, for us we wanted to do something that had like a more organic shape. And so we started thinking more of like how we wanted to draw the shelf. So the idea of the temporary shelf that can be added to any surface came before, but then we were just thinking of how we can use it and make it into a concept that really is more striking. So then that's when the mushroom idea came along. So we just started drawing and looking at pictures of things that look like shelves that are in nature, and that's where we kind of came up with the idea of the mushroom, and eventually it became like obvious that the name mushroom had to be used. Like it was something that was going to drive the project and the whole concept. But so I mean, yeah, the curved soft shape was really from drawing from nature, pretty much, like just looking at photos of mushrooms, pretty much.
I mean, the curve shape is actually kind of interesting because it does take on almost a different identity depending on the angle, right? So it can actually look quite straight in some perspective and then look very organic in others, especially if you are using it in conjunction with either a solid surface or a shelf.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of sprouts anywhere. That's how we like to say it. Like we clamp it, but it's like sprouted on a piece of furniture anywhere in your house. So.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for the question. Then we have Alubi. Congrats to all the designers. To any designer, can you speak on your design process workflow? How do you prepare your ideas before presenting them to a fabricator? Thank you from South America. Amazing, global audience. So first one to put the hand up. Let's go. Anybody? Okay.
So usually I come up with crazy ideas, almost impossible to make, usually from the get-go. And I would go to my manufacturer, fabricator, and then I would show them what I wanted to do. And they will go, no, you're crazy, you can't do this. So, but then we talk over it, we look at the drawings, and we look at the materials, and then we kind of come up with a overall idea of, okay, how we can tackle it and make it more functional, make it more accessible to materials and ways of making it. And that's how we usually start. And so I think as a designer, we should always think big. We should always go for for the impossible, and then you scale down, and then you come off from that and just make it work. A good design has to look good, but it also needs to function really well, in my opinion. So that would always be my 2 things that I always look for when I start something. But the idea has to be crazy, I think, just to be different and the unexpected. So.
Super. How about Plural Studio? Can you take that one on?
Sorry?
I would say, kind of just collaborating with the manufacturer as well was a big aspect of ours, just making sure that they could do what we were kind of intending to do. But also just experimentation with materials. A lot of our process was just trying to kind of figure out how to, for instance, mold plywood. And from us kind of doing that hands-on and really testing out that whole process, it gave us a lot of kind of insight into what was possible and what wasn't possible with that process.
Okay, great. One more question. So we'll get it up here from T. Shelby. Maha had a great point about losing some previously relied on sources of inspiration. Where are folks getting their inspiration ideas from these days? So Maha shared hers. So how about we go to Ava?
Is it wrong to say Instagram? I don't know. I mean, usually I'm so inspired by my colleagues and just sketching together and bringing all these different resources together. And just being stuck at home, I'm increasingly relying on whatever pops up in my feed or links of various things in magazines that I've subscribed to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I think we're all itching to get out and travel and be exposed by different things that are more unexpected, because as designers, those are the things that hit us the most is when we're not ready for them, right? So thanks everybody. That's the end of the questions, and thanks for the audience for sending over questions. So I'm going to throw it back to Robin to close up.
Hi everyone. Just going to take me 1 second while we orchestrate this. So I want to say thank you to Carmen and to Matt. Hi everyone, my name is Robin Wilcox. I'm the head of programming for DesignTO, and typically I'm in the background, so I'm trying to do both at the same time right now, so bear with me. But a big thank you to our presenters, Matt, Carr, and Jenny Sa, and Umbra for collaborating with us. Thanks to the DesignTO team, especially Carmen Duville, Michael Magis, and Carola Woods, who are working behind the scenes. And thank you for joining us today. Programs like these are made possible through your support. Join the DesignTO members community. We have new membership tiers and benefits, including year-round programming and a digital library with recordings of events just like this one. And I'm going to put some information about that in the chat in a second. To thank you for attending this event, we're offering a 15% discount on memberships purchased through February 9th. Details and discount codes are in the live chat and will also be emailed to you in a couple of days. I'm going to put it in the chat as we speak. And don't forget to vote for your fan favorite. So I'm going to put that up as well afterwards. Also, all of our kind of new content for DesignTO is going to be on our YouTube channel, so you can like and subscribe. And thank you to Nora, Jeremy, Ava, Kenny, Superwise, Plural, Maha, Brandon. These are really inspiring prototypes. It was so nice to get to hear from all of you. And thank you for being a part of this. Good night, everybody.